All right, hello folks, and welcome back to the Parity live stream. I'm Hadrian Mertens-Kirkwood, your host as always, and I'm joined today by two fantastic guests. We have a familiar face on the stream, Jefford Seaborn, host of the Parity podcast,
Hello.
Frequent guest. Thanks for coming back, Jefford. And a brand new guest.
Fantastic guest. I wish to correct you.
Very excited also to have Katie Actel. So Katie, thanks for being on the stream.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to have you. I did want to start with, I want to clear up some Ottawa Ultimate trivia. You are something of a graphic designer, and is it true that you designed the Parity logo?
It is true. Long time ago.
Yeah, but that's awesome. So I didn't know that until today. This logo that we've been throwing up on the stream is on the Parity website and everything. We've brought in the brain behind it. What other, you've done other stuff for the Ultimate community though, right? Other Okiwa design stuff?
I have. I actually see one behind Jefford. The disc with the bear on it is mine that I did 2 years ago, I think.
Awesome.
The blue one.
Well, that's...
And a shirt that are floating around. I did the jerseys last year, the Parity Champ ones. The winter indoor ones there.
Very cool. I was wearing that on an earlier stream. I've been wearing different jerseys every time. And actually, maybe I should mention, before I get any further, so I'm wearing a very special jersey tonight. I'll stand up to show it. This jersey arrived in the mail today for me. It is my thank you swag for having donated my remaining Parity fee to Okiwa. So that was an option for anyone who played in the league, and people who did got some cool swag. So thank you, Okiwa, for this cool jersey I got. And thanks to everyone else who chose to make that donation to the league, because obviously these are trying times. Now, speaking of Parity, since this is Ultimate, we're into semifinals. There's only 2 weeks of games left, Jefford. Are you excited?
I'm always excited. Like any playoffs, anywhere. Although, if I'm completely honest, I'm really just gunning for finals here. I'm really rooting for the Al v Kindha rematch, because that was an exciting pre-quarter and would make for the most fun for the next virtual battle between Al and Kindha.
Yeah, I think that'll be a big game if it happens. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, I did want to mention one piece of housekeeping. So, why don't we pop over here and look at our upcoming streams for the Parity Simulator. So this is semifinals, but we're actually going to have 2 more streams after this. So today is semifinal games, including our consolation bracket games. That's today, the 27th. On Thursday, our regularly scheduled time at 7:30, we're going to do our placement games. So we're going to do every remaining game except for finals. So that's going to be for 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th. Play those 4 games with those 8 teams. And then next week at this time, next Monday, 7:30 on May 4th, tune in, because then we're going to do a dedicated finals stream, which we'll watch in, instead of like a 3-minute sim, we'll do it in like a 30-minute sim or something. If I'm lucky, maybe I can get those finals GMs on, but shouldn't get ahead of ourselves here. But just so everyone knows, there's today and then 2 more streams after this, so don't miss next Monday when we do the finals. Now, why don't we hop into the bracket, since we did mention it. And Jefford, do you want to build on what you're particularly excited about as we look at this bracket?
Well, I've been looking at it from, I guess, from the bottom up. We have, some teams vying for the bottom of the thing, and that'll be fun to watch, I suppose. But as it moves up, Al Kindha matchup in the middle there, looking good. But I suppose more rational people will be, hoping to see, Nat versus Brian, Laura versus Morgan in our 2 semifinals for a shot at the first ever simulated Parity Championship.
That's true. Now, Katie, you've been traded at least once this season. I know you ended up on Team MAnge. Where were you before that?
I was on Kindha's team before that, and Laura's before that. So
that's right.
This is the first time I've been traded a few times, which is really cool.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, you were traded off a team that looks like it's in very good position to advance to finals. Do you have any venom for your old GM Laura, or is that just how Parity works?
Oh, that's how Parity works. That actually, I got traded off that team before we went virtual. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's just how it happens sometimes.
Just how it happens.
Yeah, so we do have some very exciting games on there. I also wanted to throw up, before we get in, because I think this is fun to have as a little bit of background for our games today, is our stat leaders. So again, you can access this yourself. The link is at the top of the screen there, bit.ly/parity stat leaders. It's also in the description of this video. And you can see our live leaders. Again, this includes the actual games, the first 5 games we played this session, and then the 5 games we've played since then virtually. Now there's a few standouts. Brian Perry leading the salary leaderboard, as he so often does. There are a few categories though that I'm particularly excited about. Firstly, the goals race. We've got Alex, Marcus, and Charlotte have kind of emerged as the front runners. Now, Katie Acto, you've often been on that goals leaderboard. Unfortunately, not there this time around. But when you look at those 3, do you have a particular favorite between Alex, Marcus, and Charlotte to pull out that goals leader?
I have all love for Charlotte. She's amazing, and she always finds that end zone, and she's super fast, so I'm hoping she pulls out the win there.
Yeah, as I recall, she had something like 6 goals last week, so she's on fire right now. There's 2 other categories. They're not the nicest ones, but throwaways, very tight, with our former guest Nat Mullen leading the way at 45. Lance Blackstock, I don't know if I've seen him at the top of that leaderboard before, but 44, so putting in a good show. But perhaps even more interesting is the man who has fallen off the throwaways leaderboard has reappeared at the top of the drops leaderboard. That's Hugh Podmore. Jeffrey, how did Hugh end up leading in drops?
I'm gonna speculate here because I can't get into that man's head. But I'm just gonna speculate that like all of the thinking that goes into a PhD, I mean, might make him wiser, might make him make better decisions. However, I think it's getting too up in his head. He's overthinking things, and so when the throws are coming to him, he's not able to corral them quite as easily as he once did in his carefree youth.
All right. Well, we'll have maybe a closer look at that later on. Here are again the games that we are playing tonight. So we're going to do it in reverse order. We're starting with our kind of bottom of our consolation bracket and moving up to the top of our highest seeded semifinalists. And we're going to start with a game that features two of your hosts tonight, myself and Katie, playing for Team MAnge up against Team Mehmet. So why don't we have a look at those rosters? And Jeffrey, I mean, we're now somewhat familiar with all 10 of these teams, having viewed a handful of these simulations. Does one of these teams strike you as a favorite here?
No, they're both losers. That's not true. No, like I've played with a lot of people on both sides of the ball, so I think that as previously discussed, the 3-woman rotation on Mehmet's team will be helpful to allow Carolyn, Heather, Caitlin Moore, PT. Corey Boucher, noted disc hog, is going to maybe to try and dominate the possession, but we've got a bunch of other players in that team that like to do the same. Your team, like I'd love your team. Like Corinne, Justine, Kate, and MAnge are wonderful players, like right off the top. And it's like particular matchups. Like who's gonna? I don't know. Matt Landry. No, Matt Landry's gonna cover everybody all the time. So you're fine, Hadrian. Yeah. You can take the night off. I think it's
perhaps.
What's happening here.
I mean, Katie, looks like you're gonna be up against 3 strong women, but perhaps a little bit more tired. Is there a matchup that you feel best about here?
No, these ladies are amazing that we're against, but I do like the women on my side too. I'd love to play with these women in a regular season.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty strong set of women across the board here.
Also some awesome men that were on our team too, so fingers crossed.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Too bad we never actually got to play together. Well, as you can see, we did our little 20-game prediction. It gave a slight edge to Team Mehmet, but ultimately very close. So without any further ado, why don't we hop in to our first official simulation of the night in the 7th place bracket. And
here we go.
We are off, and it's a very quick hold for Team MAnge. But now quite a few turnovers on the 3rd point, and the throwaways are going back and forth. We're still tied at 2 now early. Myself getting on the board there, finding the end zone, perhaps because Matt Landry's taking the more difficult matchups. Heather Wallace throwing an assist. Heather has had a very strong playoff, and certainly she's a player who simulates well. So she's definitely someone I have my eye on as this game progresses. And now look at this, a string of breaks to Heather Wallace, sure enough. So Mehmet now out to a 4-goal lead. 5-goal lead. Okay, so Katie, we gotta turn things around. I mean, how do we adjust our strategy now when you see so many just kind of towering presences on the other team?
Well, we know Heather's out to win. She loves winning, so I mean, we gotta shut her down somehow.
Yeah, well, and she just scored another goal, so it's not working so far. Actually, I should show you quickly a new little feature we have here. I'm gonna pull it up. You can see our current stat leaders live in the game. So I've developed this in anticipation of finals because we're not gonna be able to we want to see kind of who's leading as we go. So as we do look at this game, it is Heather Wallace leading the way in touches for her team, and assists and goals. She's already 3 and 4. So she's having an incredible game already. And we're only at kind of the halfway mark. So there it is, halfway at the halftime, and it's a 13-8 for Team Mehmet. So they're holding on to this 5-goal lead on the back of Heather Wallace. We're gonna have to turn things around, Katie. But now the goal is extended to 6. So here I'm looking, if I'm MAnge, actually I guess I am one of the captains of this team. I'm putting the disc in Cam Kennedy's hands. He's been a total loose cannon for us in Simulated Ultimate. And I think when you need chances, you need to take some chances when you're down like this, and he's the guy I get the disc to. But now with 17 minutes left, it's still a 5-goal game. Jefford, this Mehmet defense has been very stingy.
It has, and having previously played on that team, I mean, maybe a zone may have been sprung just to confuse the issue a little bit. Pat Map obviously plays strong D all the time, but you're closing the gap right now. We've seen teams go on runs late.
I don't know.
Maybe
3 minutes left. It's 4 goals. I don't think it's going to happen. And the rather unfortunate season of MAnge continues, despite some effort late in the game, a break there from Craig to Julian, but still a loss by 2. So unfortunate for Team MAnge, but congrats to Team Mehmet. They're not coming in last place. Dreams stay alive, and
Team 1 bias.
Yeah, Team 1 bias. Despite, I think that's mostly been debunked now, several weeks into the stream. But why don't we have a look at the 3 stars, Jefford? Why don't you tell us who the standouts were here?
Well, I mean, as discussed in the chat on the stream, Heather having a great game and single-handedly trying to put women back on the simulated leaderboards. 5 goals, 4 assists, 24 touches. That's
wow. That's a big game. 160K.
That is a big game, and coincidentally, the same amount of fake money she had in our fake sim earlier, while we were just trying things out, where she posted a slightly better game, and I was hoping to slag her on that, but now what? She still put up a great game. Adam McDonald in a losing effort, 5 goals, 1 D on 26 touches, throwaway. 50% on break opportunities. Corey Boucher and a surprisingly little 25 touches. Still manages 3 assists in 2 seconds. 5 of 8 on break attempts, though.
Played some great D. And Katie, look at this. Our breakup player of the game is your friend and GM, Mehmet.
Yeah, it's nice to see Mehmet come out as the breakaway player of the game. Only 2 teachable moments, so
that's a noteworthy performance. Yeah. Well, as I do look at the kind of game stats, which are in the PDF that you'll be able to access, everybody, at the conclusion of the simulations tonight, I do note that Team MAnge had 28 throwaways, so they're just having a hard time maintaining possession, and I guess that's why they're playing for 9th now. Well, Jeffrey, you have mentioned there's some activity in the comments. What are we hearing from our viewers?
It's all of the activity in the comments today. It seems everybody's really getting engaged in this. Travis wondering why his virtual equivalent is not on the D Blocks leadership on the leaderboard. Needs to get trained up. I'm being accused maybe of trying to win back, curry some favor and win back the opinion of people. Kevin notes that he and you are matching tonight with your new swag. And,
awesome.
So pretty good. And John Rowe noted that Katie's smiling but secretly seething because she's born to win, and this loss must really sting.
Yeah. It does sting. I mean, I'm having a quick look. Neither Katie or I had a particularly strong game. Katie with 2 goals, no turns, but so not bad. I had 3 goals but 2 turns, so we didn't get the job done, even though we were here in prime time. So
I think you may have been distracted by your live streaming antics and not focused on the game at hand.
yeah, it's yep, I'm known to do that. So
Gonna have to get it together for next week.
yep.
Seriously.
Well, as we look at the bracket for next week, we see that we are in the bottom possible seed for the final placement game. We'll play for 9th. So we'll see who that opponent is shortly. Mehmet plays for 7th. So that brings us to one of these finals semifinals that Jeffrey was so excited about, and that's a game between Al and Sully. So we're gonna have a quick look at their rosters. This is an interesting one. Sully, again, the number 1 seed coming into playoffs, but has had an unfortunate, really blowout loss last week to drop into this bracket. Al had a big tight win over Kindha in the pre-quarters, but then a loss last week as well. So I'm curious to see what the simulator thinks about these 2 teams. So we'll run that in the background. But Jeffrey, when you look at these teams, how do you think they stack up?
On a proper field of play, I would love to see these teams go head-to-head. I know Sel has tried to build his roster to take advantage, perhaps, of any idiosyncrasies of simulated players, and it seemed to be working to good effect early, but then seems to have sort of come off the rails late. But I see on Al's team like Justine Dajny, Kate Cav, will probably dominate play. Kelsey, I don't know, a reasonable player. Maybe doesn't simulate so well.
He's all right.
Yeah,
he's all right, I guess. Alexandre Lachachelle, does he make a push for the top of the goals leaderboard? Does Shubo come back and fire his way up the assist leaderboard?
Pull it up here. Shubo is in 3rd on the assist board with 42, but big gap between him and Brian. So he's got some work to do, but he's got Alex there, our current goals leader. So why don't we hop into this game and we'll find out how those predictions pan out. And we are off, and it's a early turn, leads to a very quick break for Team Al. So not good news for Sully. We didn't really mention it, but the little prediction sim split fairly evenly. So at a glance, these teams look pretty evenly matched. But I do look at Sully as the kind of team that can really either explode or implode, and it could go either way with them. Although, as we see here, the game is looking pretty even early on.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's like early yet. We've seen in previous sims, one team or another going on a run, usually team 1, but we're not biased.
No.
Maybe. But a lot of good play on the right. Look at that, Alexandre coming deciding to get an assist and not a goal.
And look, a lot of movement from Bo. If we have a quick look at our leaderboard, it's Bo with 10 touches, so quarterbacking that offense with 3 assists already. Although look at this, Al Colantonio with 4 goals leading the way for his team. So an unusual place. You don't necessarily find Al in the end zone that often, but maybe he just...
a surprising tactic. He might have brought that out earlier and not lost.
Maybe he just feels like he needs to lead the charge in this very important finals semifinal.
Usually he's more like pointing at where he wants to throw the disc, and
it's true. He does a lot of
ridiculous throw.
A lot of pointing. Well, it seems to be working, his new strategy. It looks like he scored another goal, so Al is just in the end zone. Team Sully scores to end the half at 13-8, but Katie, they're in a hole now. Now, you've been a GM in this league before. If you're Sully, what do you tell your team here? You're almost down by half with about 30 minutes to play.
It's time to start finding some of those fast receivers in the end zone. Some pew-pew.
Yeah.
Generous.
Yeah, the pew-pew, I think.
Pew-pew was in the last game.
Yeah, this team is built for the pew-pew. And if they're not running that strategy, I mean, what's the point, really, of putting this roster together? Now, we are at the hour mark, and it's still a 5-goal gap, so I don't know, a 6-goal gap. Al has looked in command from the start, and it's just been some very, looks like solid, patient offense from Al, whereas perhaps Sully's run and gun hasn't paid off, but they have narrowed the gap slightly.
Going on a run.
And they're on a run. And now it's a 2-goal game, although a quick hold there to Kelsey. So Sully getting some quick scores, but they need some quick breaks, and they're not getting them right now. As we see that, look at Al with six goals, Mike Lee with 6 assists, leading the way. And but now look at this, it's a 1-goal game, so there's a chance, and it's tied. Rachel Hurdle gets the goal. Oh, but at the end, a virtual, universe point, and Kelsey is the hero, throwing to Ethan, a streaking Ethan Brady in the end zone to hold off a late push. That was an exciting near comeback from Team Sully, but Al wasn't having it. Made sure that he put his, the strongest line he could on the field, and they delivered. So look at that. Great win there for Team Al. The second 1-goal win for Al in 3 weeks, so that's exciting. Of course, disappointing for Sully, but Jeffrey, your dreams of an Al Kindha Finals remain alive.
Remain alive. I'm very excited about this. It looked a little dicey there. You could see Al's point possessions were drawing out, getting longer and longer and longer as they tried to bleed the clock out, and they would turn it over, and then a quick goal by Sul's team. So I'd be curious to see how that sort of graphs out, over time, and the big comeback push there. But very exciting finish.
Well, why don't we have a look at these 3 stars? And look at this, Katie. A familiar face is our #1 star. Why don't you tell us about Kelsey's game?
Oh well, he did awesome. Obviously, 4 goals, 3 assists. Those assists were probably blades into the end zone. Handler Kelsey.
Yeah.
Apparently. It's so told so often.
Yeah, playing very well, and Jeffrey Sully getting a strong performance from a handful of players here.
Oh yeah, the rest of the thing, like Rachel Hurdle, a great game again, 4 goals, 3 assists. Pardon me, 22 touches, again, no throwaways. That's fantastic.
Including, I believe she had the goal to tie late. So a key player in this one.
Oh wow, key player in that comeback. Alex Torbella Rochelle, as we discussed, 3 goals, 3 assists. Maybe not as high flying a game as we've seen from him in the past, but still 36 touches, 1 throwaway. That's remarkably. What's the word? Careful, I guess.
Yep.
Prudent, maybe.
Yep. Reliable.
It's live.
Yep. And look at this, our breakout player of the game, Sarah Thompson. Not the first time we've talked about her on the stream. Look at this, a great game. 3 goals and no throwaways on 4 touches. Went 5 or 10 on break. So playing some silent but effective defense. So really, it looks like Sully actually had a great game on the whole, and it was just Al who pulled it out. I look at this, and in fact, Al had 27 throwaways to Sully's 22. So.
I thought you were talking about just Al.
No, Team Al to Team Sully.
I did too.
And the difference, in fact, was Team Sully had a lot more drops. So, unfortunately, it was the drops that cost them. For those keeping track at home, Bo did have 4 assists, and Alex had 3 goals. So that's relevant on those respective leaderboards. Why don't we check in again with our audience? I don't know if Kelsey or others have weighed in on that game.
No, not yet. I think Kelsey's too busy grinning on the couch. He can't type anything right now. Heather suggested an offense for Sul that he should run a 3-person ISO and watch Al's team try and keep up with ATL, Colin, and Zach, and that's not going to happen. I've had to cover at least 2 of those guys, and that's impossible. They're all ridiculously quick. But that advice, Heather, might have come before the game and might have helped them out. It was pretty close. Yeah, Adam coming in late here. 27 throwaways seems low for Al.
Yeah, so I am looking. It was, I just looked back, it was at one point 15-8 for our eventual winner, Team Al. And Sully brought it back to 22-22. So a really incredible run. And it was, these heroics, Kelsey to Ethan Brady to hold to end that game. So that was an exciting one. As we look at our updated bracket, we now see, as mentioned, that Al moves up into that 5th place final. So that's exciting. Sully drops into the 7th place game. We'll play Mehmet, so that'll be a good one there. And MAnge, still the only team down in that 9th place bracket, awaits the loser of this next game between Team Julia and Team Kindha. So we'll get into that momentarily. You can see here our updated scores. Our home team has won 2. There is a case to be made, although it has no bearing on the algorithm, that the home team should win more often in playoffs, because typically they're the higher seed. But again, that actually has no bearing here. So why don't we have a look at these rosters? And again, this is two powerhouse teams. Just in general here. I don't think we need to remind everyone, but I will anyway, that Julia has assembled a mostly lefty team, which is both interesting and I'm not really sure what to make of it. It seems to have worked sometimes. She had a big win over Laura earlier in the playoffs, but then a tough loss last week. The wheels really fell off.
Well, that's the thing. I think that maybe when you're putting wheels on, sometimes they're threaded to the clockwise and sometimes they're threaded the opposite way. And it seems that when we put it together in quarterfinals, we went on a 13-4 run late to steal a win. Whereas last week, I believe it was like a 13-5 run the other way, as the wheels completely fell off from a pretty close halftime score, I believe, and then it was all bad from there. From my perspective as a player on this team,
that's right. Yeah.
But looking at this, simulation looks, favoring Kindha a little bit, but quite honestly, I mean, like you look at both sides, like there are playmakers on either side of the ball. We've talked about playoff John. Maybe he shows up. Matt Hogel had a great game last week. Hannah Lewis, Julia Riddick, our fearless GM, relentlessly positive. It's crazy. Are both, I expect to have good things there. And then, Jesse Robinson will be, looking for the relationship pass all night long to the end zone. Kindha being cagey and throwing things around. Rachel Ng is the one I would watch out for. She moves the disc so fast. And in the last few weeks, Abe Greenspoon, look for him to have another big game tonight.
Yeah, so Rachel Ng, the call from Jefford. Katie, who do you think is a standout in this game?
Oh, well, Hannah Lewis has been just rocking it lately, and that team is just the lefty team is so good at moving the disc around, it's crazy. But yeah, Rachel Ng, she's shifty. She is tough to cover, so yeah. I look forward to seeing what she does in this game.
Well, on that note, let's hop into it with this is our third consolation game of the night, our second play-in to the fifth place final. So the winner of this game will play Al for fifth. I know Jefford's hoping it's going to be Kindha. That'll be an exciting rematch. But I know there's...
I'm so torn about this because it's my team on the one side of it.
And we have a lot of... I know a lot of our viewers, including likely GM Julia, of course, would like to see the other outcome here. And they do have an early lead here, just 2-1. But then a break. Patrick Kenzie, has simulated phenomenally well. He's had a great playoff run so far. He's basically been the quarterback of that offense, although a lot more throwaways than perhaps you'd expect from real life Kenzie. Again, this game moving. And it's an Eric LeBay turnover, and it's Matt Hogel ends up with the goal. Patrick Kenzie with the assist there, and now Muscle with the throwaway. So the Julia looking fairly strong early on here. Now, Katie,
it's early yet.
It is early yet. We've seen now in the last few weeks, it's been kind of a theme of games being quite even till half, and then one team kind of breaks out in the second half. Now, Katie, you've had to run around against a lot of these players. Is there anyone here who strikes you as just especially fit, the kind of player who, when everyone else is gassed, just continues to go, go, go?
Then I don't know if Rachel ever stops running. I'm sure everyone can say the same. And Hannah Lewis, too, she's always finding the end zone regardless of who she's playing against. So those are two girls that really stand out just quickly from looking at this list.
Yeah, well, it was a one-goal game at half, but Julia came out of the half and scored two quick ones. So now it's a three-goal lead. So Julia has basically led for this whole game, and although they haven't gone on many runs, Team Julia has kind of slowly increased this lead. Kindha trying to keep things close. It's only 3 goals, and this is in fact a very low-scoring game. Look at this, only 21 goals in total as we hit the hour mark.
The number of throwaways in this game is getting higher and higher.
Yeah, this is looking ugly. I didn't look at the time slot. Perhaps this is a late game. But now with 15 minutes left, Kindha has yet to crack double digits. So there they are, mercifully.
Oh, there she is.
But Julia looking comfortable now with a 5-goal lead with just over 10 minutes to go. Looking comfortable. Etienne doing what he can to turn things around. And there's a quick break, so it's a 3-goal game with 5 minutes left. But no, they're going to need more than that. And Muscle with another untimely throwaway. And now as we approach the end of the game, there you have it. It's 17-14. So Julia advances. Congratulations, Jefford. You get to play Al in that finals game, and unfortunately Team Kindha will drop down into that 9th place playoff. We'll have a look at that bracket in a moment.
Half of me is devastated by this news because I was really looking forward from a heckling point of view, the Alvi Kindha matchup. But certainly playing in finals is, a dream in any playoff situation. I remember way back playing for fifth because it turns out that you get the same beer prize in Summer League in fifth as you would in first, and it's not nearly as difficult.
Yeah, I mean, Katie and I would love to be in that fifth place game.
Yeah.
Well, let me know how the bottom of the bracket props up with the rest.
I should mention, and this is quite ridiculous, this is kind of thing that probably is only possible in the algorithm, but Team Julia had 231 completions in that game. So just a lot of side-to-side disc movement and not finding the end zone. Yeah, Kindha had 163, but that's a round average. If we look at Parity historically, usually in that 150 to 160 range is normal. So just a lot of touches from Team Julia without being able to find the end zone, and maybe we chalked it up to some stingy defense. Let's have a look at our stars. Look at this, Jeff and Matt Hogle leading the way.
Oh, as usual. I mean, he's a fantastic player and has been great every time I've had to play against him, and I've had the good fortune of playing with him sometimes. 3 goals, 3 assists, 3 seconds, 41 touches. That's remarkable, but as discussed, it seems our team touched the disc an awful lot. Alessandro, the best Alessandro, second star, 4 assists, 2 seconds, 3 Ds. Well done. Unfortunately, I guess turnovers with the rest of the squad. Only 2 for 7 on break attempts with the 3D blocks. It seems a bit low. Hannah Lewis dominant again, 6 goals, 2 assists on 22 touches. 4 for 7 on break opportunities. Another fantastic game.
Yeah, let's have a quick look. Is Hannah Lewis on that goals leaderboard? She is. So she's going to shoot up there from 34 to 40. So she would need another incredible game in the finals to win that leaderboard. But I wouldn't put it past her. She's a big game player, that's for sure. And Katie, look at this. Our breakout player of the game is Jay Limer.
Yeah, what a great game from him. 2 goals, 3 assists, and 3 D blocks, which is just amazing in any Parity game, so kudos to him.
Yeah, nice work, Jay. He's one of our Parity rookies this year, so nice to see him having an impactful performance there. So there we go. That's all of our consolation bracket games done for the night. We'll set up our semis in just a moment, but we should take this opportunity to check in with our viewers. Have we heard anything, Jeffrey?
Well, I mean, GM Julia was suggesting right off the gate that maybe we should run the sim with her and Kenzie benched, given how they played last week with, I forget what it was. It's like a dozen throwaways between the two of them. But I believe they simulated much better. She wondered if John Hay could please holster the hammers tonight. But looking well. Everyone seems to be cheering Hannah Lewis along through the game. And Sean Rowe, again, R.I.P. Alvi Kindha.
Yeah, since Julia mentioned it, she had what can only be described as a cringeworthy performance with 5 throwaways.
Not good.
Yeah, so not leading by example there, but she's a tough cookie. She'll turn things around for next week, I'm sure. And Kenzie did have 3 throwaways, but 34 completions,
better.
So not the end of the world. Yeah, and they pulled out the win. So let's have a look at our updated bracket. And there we go. We can see now our kind of bottom 6 teams, how those shake out. Now, Katie, at a glance here, we're down to our final 4 teams. Do you think, is there a particular finals matchup you expect? Or maybe just one you'd like to see?
Oh, I couldn't tell you. I think they're all pretty tight, these teams. Some are a little bit better at moving the disc around. Other ones are better at just chucking it, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's worth looking at, just if we go back a week and see how these teams got here. It was decisive in every matchup. Nat won by 4, Brian won by 9, Laura won by 9, and Morgan won by 4. So all these teams looked very strong in the semis. They didn't all look as strong in the pre-quarters, but I chalked that up to experimentation. When you're in a double elimination bracket, sometimes you want to just try things out, especially with a new roster. So both Laura and Brian rebounded from those earlier losses to take commanding wins in the semis. So it'll be interesting to see how this game shakes out. So again, these are the 3 games we've played. We've got 2 to go, and this is a big one. When you look at this, these rosters here, Katie, again, keeping in mind that this is a big game, semifinals, kind of everything on the line here. Who do you turn to if you're Laura, and then if you're Morgan? Who is your go-to player in this situation?
I mean, Laura has some really tall men there that could pull down some stuff. She has the tallest man alive on her roster, so you know he's going to be trying to find the end zone. And also Charlotte, great end zone player there. And then on Morgan's team, I mean, you can't bet against Alicia Zhao. She
can't bet against her.
Never. Her 4th appearance in winning finals or being in finals if she's in it. So, yeah.
Yeah, those are some good picks for sure. Jeffrey, do you have any standouts here?
And as mentioned, but those are the top players. But I'm looking for another great game from J Thor. He's a player.
He's one of the premier simulator players. Yeah.
Indeed. Now also, can Lance shoot up on his dubious leaderboard? He was one off coming into play tonight.
Yeah.
Wing will be looking for some D's. I'm looking for a good game from Pepper as well tonight. She's always a competent, confident disc mover. And on the other side, who's going to have, is John Rowe? I can't say nice things about John Rowe, can I? Maybe.
I mean, you're allowed
for
to.
a good game from John Rowe. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And then GM Laura leading from the front, going and getting what she needs to get to the finals, and berating her players at any and all opportunity if they fail to meet her high expectations.
Yeah, well, we did run a quick little 20-game preview sim. It gave Laura a slight edge, but really this looks like a toss-up to me. I would, I look at these teams, I say on paper I give the edge to Laura, but you can't bet against Alicia Zhao. So it's, we're going to find out. This is a really, really interesting game, and again, an important one. And so let's get to it. So we're going to start this game off, and here we are with, again, our first semifinal of the night between Team Laura and Team Morgan. And both teams looking pretty calm early on, although a pair of turns on that point. And then we have
Alan
our first break.
Number one.
Alan Godding throwaway number one. That's right. That's the Alan Godding throwaway watch. And look at this. Laura caught out to a 4-goal lead. So
wow.
Team Morgan making mistakes. Caitlin Hesketh with another turn, and it's GM Laura with the goal there. So Alicia settling things down. Nice goal. And Jeff Solomon scores there. And another break. So it's Alicia Zhao is really decided that she's not going to lose this game. Playing very well already. Christy Ellis throwing to Christo there. So this game that looked quite lopsided early has been brought back to a 2-goal and now a 3-goal gap, but nothing crazy. Both these teams looking relatively loose at this stage, although again, Morgan with some sloppy play is allowing Laura to score some of those easy breaks. There's Charlotte Muscles on the assist side. And your friend and favorite there, Jay Thor, also getting on the board. So both teams looking fairly strong. If we have a look here, it is Charlotte Muscles with 3 goals. Martin Cloak 3 assists actually, and look, Travis Davidson with 3 D blocks. I believe he was wondering earlier why he wasn't on that leaderboard. Well,
his virtual self seems
virtual self has decided he's going to get some Ds in this game. A lot of turns before the half, and it is Team Morgan scoring that. So it's a 3-goal deficit at the half. They narrowed it to 2. But they give the disc up there, and it allows Laura to extend the lead again. So this game is looking quite sloppy. A lot of turns for a semifinal game. But Team Morgan has found a way to narrow the gap to 1, now 2 goals. So they're doing their very best here as we approach the hour mark. It's now a 1-goal game. I mean, is it still Katie? Is it still a Charlotte Alicia show, or is someone else going to step up here with only a few minutes to go?
I don't know. They're looking pretty strong, those ladies, which is nice to see. But liking to see some goals from Laura, too. She's doing awesome as well.
Yeah, she scored a handful. Travis throwing an assist there. So he's decided he's going to have a big game, too. And Alicia Zhao's
Alan Godding throwaway number 3
championship record is on the ropes here. 1 goal difference, though. And it's Alicia with the turnover. That could be costly. But it comes back, and Alicia Zhao scores to tie the game. So look at this, 19-19, and Morgan takes the lead with a minute left, and again, wow, it's a comeback, and it is Team Morgan that pulls out a late come-from-behind win over Laura. Wow, what a comeback, and it was I mean, I'm not sure what the stats say, but at a glance, it looked like it was just pure determination from Alicia to say, I am going to get into that finals. Wow.
Yeah, it really looked like there was a play where she threw it away and then like immediately went and got it back, scored that break, and then I think just like is willing that team forward.
Wow.
What a comeback.
So it was 19-16 for Team Laura with 13 minutes left to play. And yeah, Team Morgan scored 4 in a row to get that done. So amazing. Let's have a look at those stars and walk us through this, Jefford.
Oh, there, see, Pirate at the top of the board, 4 D.
Got those 4 Ds.
Yep. Stuff in order, adding 3 goals, 3 assists, 26 touches. You know, GM Morgan Howard leading from the front, also left-handed, but he was a GM, so we couldn't trade for him. 4 assists, 3 Ds on 33 touches, 6 for 10 on break attempts.
Wow,
very well
big
done.
game from Morgan.
Christy Ellis, a goal and 3 assists, 4 seconds on 27 touches, 2 throwaways. In the end, didn't cost. So well done to all those 3 stars.
Yeah, very good. And Katie, it's Matt Skynes is our breakout player of the game.
Yeah, he got the game done there with 1 goal, 2 assists, and 2 blocks. So definitely helping out his team for the big W.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mostly useful.
And you know, we were talking a lot about Alicia. It actually looked like a quiet night on the leaderboard. 3 goals, 2 assists. Quiet for her, I should say, with only 1 throwaway. So not a bad night. But it seemed to me like those were key moments that she willed that disc to the end zone. So well done there. Charlotte Muscles, for those keeping track, had 3 goals. So she's keeping pace on that goals leaderboard. And Lance, oh my goodness, Lance Blackstock had 11 throwaways. So
what?
yeah, somehow that's the kind of number that you almost never see in actual Ultimate, because usually after you've had your 6th or 7th throwaway, you start playing differently. But not Lance in this game, and somehow Team Morgan still found a way to win. Lance had 11 of his team's 27 throwaways, so actually quite incredible that they did.
That is
Well, they went 11 throwaways for Lance. Yeah, wow.
He really wants to take that leaderboard away from you.
Yeah, well, I think almost certainly he has taken it. Well, we're going to find out because our next game has the current leader of that category, Nat Mullen. So, well, that's an exciting one. Did our audience feel the same way, Jefford?
It like certainly leading into the game, we were the consensus seemed to be the crowd, the sideline was pulling for Nat and Laura to win for an all-female GM final, and that would have been very exciting. In the discussion about tall players, and Mr. Perry wanted to know, can you simulate height? Is that a thing? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how this algorithm works.
The short answer is no.
Is no, of course not. But I mean, we can simulate based on outcomes.
Yes.
And outcomes are related to height because you can't teach tall.
Yeah, you got it.
Jay Thor's been waiting for his whole career for being the top the simulated player, and but a lot of back and forth. Travis not very pleased with the result. Perhaps his virtual self could have been in better shape. And yeah, a lot of they don't bet against Alicia. What are you people doing?
Yeah, I know. Well, and Travis did put in a pretty good performance with 4 Ds, but if he just had 1 more in those final 4 points, that's a win. So I think we can hang that one on Travis's shoulders.
Absolutely.
Let's have a look at our updated bracket. So this is maybe no surprises here. Morgan now moves into that finals game, which I remind you will be played at this time next week. So next Monday at 7:30 p.m. on the normal stream, we will be doing a dedicated finals show. These other 4 games will be played this coming Thursday. So we'll just do a placement games show. And Laura will be in that placement game, playing for 3rd place against the loser of this next game between Nat and Brian. So that was an exciting one, our most exciting game of the night for sure, and that's the kind of quality Ultimate you expect from Parity playoffs, isn't that right, Katie?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Always high quality Ultimate in Parity. So let's have a look again. Our updated scores from our 5 games tonight. The away team gets on the board there with again a thrilling late come from behind win. And let's have a look at the rosters for our final game of the night, our final semifinal between Team Nat and Team Brian. A lot of, I think, interesting matchups on this one. Katie, is there a particular head-to-head that you think is worth keeping an eye on?
Oh, I couldn't say. Just off the top of my head, but there's definitely some really strong players on both sides. I mean, I always look straight at the women right away, and you got Deb and Jose, who's just like an absolute workhorse. And then on the other side, you got some really strong handlers with Alyssa and Angela and Rachel Young, who's been just amazing. So, yeah, it'll be fun to watch.
Actually, Rach had a great game last week, if I recall.
She did. She's for the last several games. But look at this. Our little quick prediction gives looks like 3-1 odds for Nat. Does that stack up with your assessment of these teams, Jefford?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think that like to me they look they look to me to be more evenly matched. But again, this is not like this is how do players simulate and how have their simulated virtual selves improved or not over the course of these last few games in the playoffs.
Yeah, we're getting further and further from reality with each simulation. That's true.
Which makes it so much more difficult to predict these things. Even though we have a reasonably heavy favorite on one side, also leaning into the Team 1 bias. The other games tonight have all been decided by less than 3 goals, if I recall. So why change the trend? I expect another tight, hard-fought game in this semifinal.
Yeah, I think it will be closer than that. But hard to say. I'm just trying to recall now. As we came into playoffs, Brian was the number 4 seed, Nat was the number 3 seed, so they both had strong regular seasons. But anyway, let's see how it goes with our final game of the night. And we are off, and a handful of throwaways on the first point.
Semifinals, it's always tense in the first few points.
And let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's not finals, so people are going to make some mistakes. Now, unfortunately,
everyone's making mistakes.
Everyone's making mistakes, and although Nat has both simulated well and just performed well, that team has the current throwaways leader and the current drops leader. So we'll be keeping an eye on both Nat and Hugh over the course of this one to see if they can add to those numbers. Brian looking quite strong here. So I will remind you that Brian Perry, of course, had a fantastic season. In the first few simulations we ran, he played very well. And then the last 2 games, it's really been the Chris Castlegay and Rachel Young show. The 2 of them have been just dominating for Team Brian in their games. So if they can keep up that performance and Brian can get back to his usual self, and in fact there we have Brian throwing to Rachel for a goal. So if that connection can continue, I think I'd be worried for Nat here. I mean, Katie, how do you match up against someone like Rachel Young?
And she's a really strong player all the time. So, I mean, I don't know how she stacks up in virtual world. I think she's doing awesome. But in real life, man, she's hard to shut down. She is a really strong handler, but with lots of movement in the backfield. So, I don't know.
Well, and look at this. It's a 14-7 lead at half. As we pull up our leaderboard, it's look at this. Chris Castlegay 4 goals. Alistair Campbell with 4 assists. And Nat Mullins, sure enough, with 6 throwaways. So she's not going to let Lance. She's trying to not let Lance pass her, despite Lance's 11 throwaways in his game. Now the lead here.
Both Nat and Alyssa are both gunners.
Just gunning.
And, it's showing up in the stats tonight.
Yeah, well, that might be the game that they're playing, but it's working better for Brian than it is for Nat. Now a 7-goal lead as we hit the hour mark. So that is a big hole for Nat to climb out of, despite looking like a heavy favorite in our early simulation. Now again, 7 goals, 15 minutes to play. I don't think they can do this. It's too big a gap, even for a team with this much talent on it. I mean, Katie, what do you imagine Mikey Davidson is saying to his team on the sideline right now?
Oh, I don't know if we want to know what he's saying right now.
It's a family-friendly stream. You're right.
Exactly.
I am absolutely here for it. I want to hear what Mikey has to say about this.
Mikey just scores there to do his best to narrow the gap, but it's not enough. And Team Brian absolutely cruises to a 23-18 win. So looking very strong and comfortable in that win. So kudos to Team Brian, and condolences to Team Nat. Look at that, a big win. It never really looked in doubt, as Team Brian really just led that from start to finish. I'm looking at the numbers, played just a solid game. overall. Why don't we have a look at our 3 stars, Jefford? And look at this. Our first star of the game is Thomas Tolo.
Oh, he's our favorite to yell across the field. Thanks, Perry, for starting that trend. I love it. 4 assists, 2 seconds, 2 Ds, 6 for 9 on break opportunities. Fantastic. Hugh Podmore having a great game. 3 assists, 5 seconds, 40 touches. Unbelievable. I mean, it's you ought to maybe share that around. Gala with another good game, 3 goals, 4 seconds, pardon me, in a D block on 18 touches, 8 for 12 on breaks.
Wow,
That's
great defense.
Fantastic.
And look at this, Dana Strauss putting in an awesome game with 4 goals, Katie.
Yeah, she might not have touched it quite as much as her teammates, but she made every touch count and was bringing in 4 goals and making them win, bringing them the win.
So that's great. So it really does look like a whole team effort here from Brian. I mean, we did mention some of those other names. Chris Costengay, 4 goals. Marcus with 4 goals. But Brian had another quiet game, 4 assists, which for him is quite a pedestrian performance. And Rachel Young also eased off. Only actually had 1 goal and 12 completions on the night. So Team Brian has done a really impressive job of cycling new players into those starring roles in each game. So they've really got a lot of weapons to draw on, and it's worked, and they've earned themselves a finals berth. So
well, it's very important to get some experience in your full roster heading into a final. So
yeah,
good GMing, virtual Brian.
Yeah,
I mean clearly not actual Brian, because actual Brian would have had nothing to do with that.
No, he would have touched the disc.
He get the disc more?
Way more than that. Now, for those stat leaderboard watchers, I will note that Nat Mullen did have 7 throwaways, so she's not going to give up that leaderboard without a fight with Lance. I can only imagine the 2 of them are way out ahead now. Hugh Podmore had 2 more drops, so he may continue to lead that board. We'll find out. And Hugh actually, back to old form, perhaps because we've been heckling him so much on the stream, had 6 throwaways. So
well done.
Yeah, so Hugh with the 8 turnovers, perhaps that was the difference, because when he's not throwing it away, his team was winning. So anyway, that does bring us to the end. I'm just going to update those numbers in the background. But while we do that, have we heard any kind of final comments from our fans here?
Oh, Brian's chirping up with the Brian v. Alicia for the 3-peat. I guess they've met in the finals last few goes round. Heather commenting, all male GM final, classic patriarchy. Which
I have no response.
I don't know how the simulator accounts for that.
I mean, there's a very interesting conversation to be had around like whether we should be. What does it mean to simulate accurately, and what does it mean to simulate equitably?
Yes.
But we don't have time for that tonight, unfortunately. I know some people have a poker game to play in 5 minutes.
Yes, 6 minutes.
So just as
but who's counting?
Yeah, we'll just have a look at our final updated bracket here. It is going to be Brian Morgan in the finals. So congrats to those 2 teams. 3rd place will be Nat playing Laura in what may end up being the Premier Finals game, but it's only for 3rd, the Dirty Bronze, as some like to say. Julia Al for 5th, Sully Mehmet for 7th, and it will be Kindha and MAnge playing to not come 10th. And I'll be looking forward to that game. I'm sure, Katie, you will be as well. And that does bring us to the end of the stream. I do want to, again, mention one more time that this is our schedule for the next week. On Thursday, so in just a few days from now, we will be doing all the placement games, so those 3rd through 10th place games. And then...
Yeah. Don't say 10th. We don't care about them.
Right.
We do.
And then next week on Monday, we will do a dedicated final stream. And we'll make it a kind of a bit more of a show or something. I don't know. If you have ideas for that, let me know, because we're kind of winging this as we go. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. Please do tune in again. Thank you to our guests, Katie and Jefford, for joining us. You were great as always.
It's true. Katie was fantastic. I was terrible.
No, you guys were awesome. So thanks for joining us. And thank you at home for watching. And I look forward to seeing you again on Thursday.